everybody, and welcome to a new episode of the Knitting in Holland podcast. I'm Camilla, I'm an Italian knitter living in the Netherlands, and welcome to my void, which is still our bedroom. I think for some time you'll still see me with this background because our new apartment setup is slowly taking shape, but we're taking our time. It's winter, days are way shorter, and it takes a bit, but it takes a bit to make it special for us. But so welcome from my nice white wall. First of all, I would love to really thank you all for the amazingly warm welcome you gave to my very first episode. I was a bit unsure because I had a bit of a different format than all the podcasts I'm used to watch on YouTube, and so it was a bit different than the average knitting podcast. And I was also a bit afraid that the market for knitting podcasts was already a bit saturated, but it did prove me very wrong because I was just blown away by the warm welcome you gave to my very first episode, and I'm so thankful. Thank you so much, really. And I just hope I'm gonna keep creating very interesting content for you guys. So today, my first topic, it's gonna be really Christmas focused. Because, as I promised you, it's going to be dedicated to my Christmas knit list. Christmas is still a bit more than a month away, so there's still plenty of time to knit. Let's not freak out, because otherwise pressure is strong, and I still have so much knitting to do, and I spend my time knitting stuff just for me. That it's not Christmas related, so that's not that great. So today just want to show you a bit what I want to knit, for whom, why I chose these presents, and also I want to show you what I've knitted so far, so you'll see that I am so far behind and you can maybe keep me a bit accountable for it. The first present that I'm knitting is actually something I've already shown you in the past episode, because it's the amazing cable sweater I'm knitting for my boyfriend. And I'm really lowering my voice because when I record a podcast I always tend to talk very loudly, but I'm afraid that if I talk super loudly he's gonna hear me. So this is the amazing cable sweater I'm knitting for him, and I'm all out for it. See if the light kind of picks it up. Yes, now you can see it in all its gorgeousness. I am loving this so much. It's coming out super great. It's so beautiful, but I'm so far behind because this is still the only thing I've knitted so far. So if you haven't seen the first episode yet, check it out. No, but also, as I was explaining in the first episode, this is the Handsome Crease pullover by Karen Schaffer, and this is actually a reproduction of the gorgeous cable sweater that Chris Evans wears in the Knives Out movie. This pattern is available for free on Ravelry, and it's just a gorgeous pattern, but it's a bit complicated because it's 5 different cable charts and it's just a bit slow. So I tried to see how long it would have taken me to knit 4 rows of it in the morning, and it took me exactly an hour. So I knit at a speed of 4 rows an hour, considering that the rows on the wrong side are pretty much just super easy, like having to knit, as you see, knits and purls. So despite the wrong side rows being super easy, it still takes me an hour to knit 4 rows in total. I'm really scared I'm not gonna finish this in time. This is the only thing I have so far, and I have to finish this, then, which I don't exactly know if this is the back or the front, but they're worked the same pretty much. And then once I finish these, I need to knit sleeves and sew it all together and block it, and it's gonna take at least 2 days to dry because it's so much yarn in here. I'm already done with my, I believe, third skein of Drops Nepal. It's working out great. Like, this is the perfect yarn for an iron sweater. It's wool and alpaca. Right now I don't remember which percentage each, but it's like the stitch definition, as you can see. It's gorgeous. It's amazing. I'm really curious to see how it would turn out blocked, because I mean, look at these cables. I'm sorry, I could stare at these cables all day long. I'm just so proud of this work. I just really wish I could finish it in time. Right now, I'm not really working on it. It's just really focus intense to work on this. And so not always I have the right mind space to work on it. I usually tend to work on it a bit in the morning when I'm a bit still fresh, because in the evening I'm just too tired and this is not an evening knit for me. But even in the morning, sometimes I just don't have that time to dedicate to it, because if I just want to knit for raw, I'll have to put an hour aside for it. So there's some days that I have more time to work on it, some days that I don't work on it at all. And this is why I'm so far behind. And I have a couple of deadlines coming up before Christmas, and there's a chance that I'll probably spend like the last 2 weeks before Christmas like really pushing through, like really knitting this, but we'll see. Otherwise, I just have to think of a different present, or maybe give a picture of the sweater and say like, oh, this will come to you hopefully before the end of winter. We'll see. But there's other presents that I'm a bit more ahead on. Well, this is the only like major project I want to gift. And honestly, it's just because it's for my boyfriend. So it's like all the love I have for him. Because usually I am a very selfish knitter. Meaning, since I fell in the knitting rabbit hole, which was a bit more than a year ago, I've only knitted for myself. In the past, since I've started knitting, I did knit some scarves for my mom, some headbands for friends, but since like I really got into knitting, also choosing like only natural fibers, I really only knitted for myself. So this project is huge, and it's a major thing that I'm knitting for somebody else. Because if you think about it, a sweater like that, store-bought, with the same quality of materials, it will still cost more than 300 euros, I think. Like such an intricate cable sweater, maybe even more. So if I had to buy the exact sweater in the store and just gift it, it would be a more than a 300 euros present, without even considering the fact that in this case I'm gifting a more than 300 euro sweater, but I'm also putting all the time to knit it myself. So this present is huge. So even if it's not done for Christmas, it's still a major thing. But all the other Christmas presents I want to give, which are gladly not that many, because I'm gonna knit presents only for my close family, and they're way smaller, so they're way doable. The second present I will show you, it's this gorgeous socks, which, as I can see, one is already done and it's beautiful and I love it. These socks are the Ólafur Socks, free designed by Drops Design, and these are gonna be for my dad. And most importantly, I did knit all this stock. Well, so far I knitted one sock, but did knit it all only with scraps, and I'm really happy about it. I did knit this with Drops Karisma. Drops Karisma is 100% superwash wool yarn by Drops, and I had bought a bunch of partially used skeins of Drops Karisma on Marktplaats months ago. If you're not Dutch based and you don't know what Marktplaats is, it's pretty much like the Dutch Craigslist. You can find anything secondhand from furniture to clothes to cars to, of course, yarn. And it's a nice sustainable choice to buy secondhand yarn, in my opinion, because not only you help a fellow knitter to just clean out their stash, you also buy secondhand yarn. There were only partial skeins of different tones of brown and all the colors, and I think it worked out perfectly for this sock. I really like it. Also, I'm loving how it looks up on the camera. I still haven't blocked this. I intend to block it just because it will look nicer when gifted. This knitted up in like 4 days, mostly because it's a daycare weight yarn, so much faster to knit up a sock with this than with a finger weight yarn. Also considering this is men's size foot, my dad has a 44 foot. I hope it's gonna stretch out a bit when blocking, because this is like the length they told me to knit, but it does look a bit short. So I really have to like try block it. I love the color work. The color work was a bit addicting because I did stay up until 2 a.m. just to knit this. And the rest of the sock really knitted up really fast. Loved the heel. It was a construction that I never done before, and I really liked it, where like put some stitches on hold and then you continue and then you pick them up and then you do some decreases. And I really like how it shapes the heel. It's really nice. Really like it. And then the toe is very easy game of decreases, and then the very tippy top sewn together with Kitchener stitch. It's a very approachable sock. I really enjoyed knitting this. I can't wait to knit the rest. I just hope I have enough yarn, especially the brown one, the major one. I may not have enough and I may have to buy some, but at least I got one sock fully just with scrap yarn. I don't remember why I bought that yarn. I think I bought it to make a sweater for a time maybe, but it was just there laying in my stash. As I said, however, this yarn is Superwash. And you might be like, isn't Superwash not very sustainable? Yeah, you're right. Superwash is actually not a great sustainable choice at all. I'm just gonna quickly try to super easily explain what superwash wool is, what process it goes through, and why it's not sustainable. But for further information, I'm just gonna leave you the link to 2 very interesting articles by Making Stories, which are really well written and really explain in detail why superwash wool is not sustainable. But also, if you don't know, Making Stories is this amazing publisher and wool shop based in Berlin, which publishes quarterly a magazine. The knitting magazine itself is pretty much the only knitting magazine out there without any sort of advertising, and all the patterns are knitted with sustainable yarn. Also on the shop is available to buy yarn which is only sustainable. Lately, they've always started doing a sock yarn subscription. It's always really nice, and it's always no superwash and natural fiber only sock yarn, and I'm all here for it. So if you don't know Making Stories, go check them out. I'll leave you in the description the link to the articles they wrote. But very shortly, superwash wool is treated so that despite being 100% natural fiber, because it's only wool, it can be washed in the wash machine without shrinking and therefore without felting. But how? Simply, this wool undergoes a process that involves very toxic chemicals to pretty much flatten out the little spikes that make up the fiber of the wool. So I think the easiest way for you to visualize what I'm talking about is to think of those hair conditioner commercials. I think you know which ones I'm talking about. The ones where they show you the hair under a microscope that shows you like how a human hair has tiny scales, and how once you use conditioner, all those scales get pretty flattened out, and then you end up with amazing luscious and silky hair. That's exactly the process that superwash wool undergoes to, because those extremely toxic chemicals, one of which is, for example, chlorine, which is really toxic, really flatten out the fiber of the wool, so that when the fiber goes through the motion of washing it in the washing machine, instead of felting, which felting will be simply that those scales that the fiber is made of, they will like kind of tangle themselves together, but those scales are not there anymore, so the fibers don't get tangled and they stay separated, and so the wool doesn't felt. But in order for this process to be permanent, for the superwash wool to never felt, after undergoing this chemical process, the wool is also coated with a resin, which is pretty much a plastic product. So you end up with a yarn that doesn't felt, but at the same time, when washed, it might release microplastics in the water stream. So you can see why superwash wool sounds like very, very bad. And it's actually super easy to find. For example, most of indie dyers, they actually use superwash wool because superwash wool has the incredible perk of absorbing dye really nicely. It also absorbs water super nicely though, because this process kind of gets rid of a major great aspect of natural wool, which is to be a bit waterproof. Instead, by flattening it, it's stripped of its waterproof capacity. So superwash wool would absorb water like crazy, and for indie dyers that's a perk because it also absorbs dye color like crazy. So that's why you get all those amazing beautiful popping colors by indie dyers, especially like on sock yarn, which it's nice that it's superwash because then you can pop your socks in the washing machine instead of washing them by hand. At the same time, do you really need to wash your socks in the washing machine if they're knitted with wool? Not really, because wool is much more breathable than the store-bought socks that are made with cotton and polyester. So they're cold and make your feet sweat, while wool, it's warm and makes your feet sweat less and breathe more. So actually the woolen socks don't need to be washed as often as store-bought socks and can easily be washed gently by hand, so they don't need to be popped in the washing machine every time. So you don't need to knit socks only with superwash wool, and you gotta be aware because superwash wool is around every corner. But then you may be like, then why the heck are you knitting your dad's socks for Christmas with superwash wool? Well, first of all, I had this in my stash, and then you may ask, why did you buy it in the first place? And I would answer you, well, actually, for this project, it's great. It's great not because that's actually the yarn that Drops suggested for this pattern. It's great because I don't trust my mom in washing hand-knitted garments by hand. Because these socks are for my dad to keep him warm for this winter. And simply, I know that in my house, my mom is usually in charge of the laundry. And I also know that my mom will maybe get a bit annoyed by the fact of having to wash a couple of garments with delicate soaps and by hand without putting them in the washing machine. This could bring to two different results. Either she would by mistake put them in the washing machine and they would get felt in and therefore ruined forever. Or she would keep them aside, waiting for a more favorable time to wash them by hand, and then end up never washing them actually by hand and therefore never getting used. And that would also not be good, because then I would like spend my time and put so much love into a present that would never be used. Never. So that's why I decided to use superwash wool. So in this case, yes, I'm using a yarn that's not sustainable, but at the same time, if I hadn't used that yarn, still the result wouldn't have been sustainable. This to tell you that to me it's really important when planning knitted presents to actually be aware of the behavior of the recipient of the present. So if you know that is somebody that cannot be bothered hand washing their things, they also have no experience in wearing and washing hand-knitted garments, either you have all the patience in the world to explain them carefully, how to care for their hand-knitted garments, and you're 100% sure that they will follow your direction to the letter, or like I do, that I know perfectly that my mom knows how to care carefully for those things, but she just doesn't have the time and headspace to really be careful about her laundry in that sense. So I know that those garments will really get used and loved much more if they're made of a superwash yarn. And I think it's the best choice I could make in this case. I kind of decided this year to knit my Christmas presents, mostly because as it's happening in Europe, I know it's happening in North America, to I don't know about other areas of the world, but we're living in a time with this amazing conjunction of inflation on one side and then COVID that fucked up all supply chains, together with the war in Ukraine that's making energy prices skyrocketing. And the only thing that us poor commoners can do in this time is to save energy and cut down on those utility bills that are just getting more and more expensive. This is the reason why I really decided to knit presents for my family this year and knit things that I know they will use, that will keep them warm. So of course I'm knitting socks for my dad. And so at the same time, I do of course want that these get used this winter. It may be nice to wear some warm woolen socks when at home, or this would be great even in the hiking boots or something. I'm just afraid that maybe like being a yarn that's just 100% wool, it's not really that resistant in hiking boots, but they're amazing home socks, right? So let's move to the next present, which I haven't started knitting yet, because it's the Kabana Bag by Anna Sebastião, which is a beautiful felted bag, which I think my mom would definitely use a lot, and it really looks amazing. Too bad that bag is actually crocheted and not knitted, so my crochet knowledge is like really limited. I know how to make a crochet chain and that's pretty much it. But you know, when I bought the pattern, I knew it was a crochet project, and I thought, oh, before Christmas I probably have time to pick it up. It doesn't use very complicated stitches. I can probably look it up, a couple of videos, and kind of like figure it out. It's made with thick yarn. The pattern suggested to use Sandnesgarn Fritidsgarn. I hope my Norwegian was on point there. But it's a bulky yarn that it's made of 100% Norwegian wool. I, however, did not use that kind of wool because I already had in my stash some bulky yarn, 100% wool, that it would be perfect for this project. Specifically, I had some Snowstorm by Hobbii, which is very pretty 100% wool bulky yarn. I had it in some nice blue shades, and my mom really likes blue, and so I thought it would be nice to use different shades of blue, but I didn't have enough. So actually I bought some Snow by Drops to work it together, again in some other shades of blue, so they're about the same thickness, they're about the same exact yarn, and it would be nice together. But Christmas is approaching and I still haven't even tried to take up a crochet hook and, you know, learn the stitches. So I think I put that project on the side. And actually, I'll probably knit this for my mom, like for her birthday. Her birthday is in March, so it's like I can still get some use, and I think she would really, really like it. But so I opted for a different project for my mom's Christmas present, which is the Patronus Mittens by Amanda Sund. The Patronus Mittens, as you can see, show a very beautiful colorwork pattern that is clearly inspired by Harry Potter, because they have the stag as his Patronus, and then on top they have the Deathly Hallows symbol, which symbolizes the Cloak of Invisibility, the Resurrection Stone, and the Elder Wand. And to be honest, this is going to be for my mom. And my mom really never cared about Harry Potter. I remember when I was little, I would like go to the cinema to watch every single movie. And my mom, after the first one, she kind of gave up. She really didn't like it. So it kind of became every couple of years when the movies would come out, it almost was a tradition for me and my dad to go together, the two of us, to the movies to watch a new Harry Potter film. So my mom really wouldn't care about Mittens referencing Harry Potter. Honestly, I probably wouldn't care either. Like, I liked Harry Potter, I read it, I watched the movies. I actually want to read the books once more because it's been almost 20 years since I read them last. But I'm not that big of a Potterhead like a lot of people out there to wear like Potter themed clothes. But I also saw that somebody has already done this among their projects on Ravelry. You can easily hack the pattern and design something different on top instead of the Deathly Hallows symbol. So be it like a star or something. I just really like the design of the stag. It's something that I know my mom would really like too. We live in very northern Italy, close to the border with Austria. So it is a bit of our tradition, like stags and anything mountain related, because we literally live in the mountains. So I know she would really like it, just like without knowing that's actually supposed to be Harry Potter related. This is also a free pattern that I found on Ravelry. So it's so great because like all the patterns I'm using for Christmas are actually free patterns, which does cut down a bit of the cost of Christmas knitting in this case. The yarn suggested for this pattern was the Novità 7 Brothers, which is a Aran weight sock yarn. And I thought that is great because for the same reason I decided to use Superwash wool for my dad's socks. For the exact same reason, also for my mom's mittens, I wouldn't use a hand wash only yarn, but I would rather use something that she can wash on a gentle cycle in the washing machine. Novità is a brand I kind of want to try and it sounds great. So I went to my local yarn shop that I knew they had it, and I did buy some Novità, but I bought the wrong one. Because I bought the Novità 7 Brothers Nature, which is actually the exact same yarn, but it's the more sustainable version. And it's honestly like gorgeous yarn. Like look at the color. Like I love this like brown pumpkin color out there, say like autumnal leaves colors. It is so pretty. But it's made of 70% wool and 30% lyocell, so tencel. So it's not machine washable. So this didn't solve my issue. And I mean, this would have been such a great combination. And it's still gonna be a great combination because guess what? I'm gonna make myself a pair of it. But this cannot be used for my mom's present. So what I think I'm gonna do is search for more scraps of Karisma in my stash and use those. I may like have maybe just one color and have to buy the second one because I would really like to cut down on my stash. But so I'll probably make a pair for myself with these colors because they're beautiful. And I really love the design of those mittens too. And also I never knitted myself mittens. I always kind of hated mittens when I was little. I always found like they were a bit too constricting my hands. It was weird to like go around with all my fingers tied together. Also, this is gonna be nice for you watching my video and I'm just doing this. But today, actually, I'm feeling like mittens will be great. I think I've grown out of, wanting my fingers free, and now I just care about having my hands warm. And I don't know, mittens really give me a sense of that warmth. Probably when I was little, it was just a bit difficult to pick up snow and make snowballs when your fingers are actually tied together. But today, I don't care about making snowballs. I don't even know if it's gonna snow this winter in the Netherlands, so I can just make them and enjoy the warmth. Also because I think they kind of are nice though to bike in the Netherlands because they really keep your hands all nice, close together and warm. So they may actually be a good choice for a Dutch winter. So, but not before Christmas because I really need to knit Christmas presents. Finally, the last present doesn't really have a recipient yet. No, it kind of does have a recipient, but I'm not sure if I'm gonna knit a present or not for this person. Just because I don't know if I'm gonna see this person before Christmas. That's the only reason, really. But I made a swatch for this present nevertheless, because I had this 3 amazing shades of mohair in my stash, which are just gorgeous. This was actually hand-dyed mohair by Kleur and Draad, which is an indie dyer that I think currently she suspended her activity as an indie dyer, and some months ago, before pressing the pause button, she did a bit of a clean out sale, and that's when I bought these mohair yarns, which actually was a set. So I have 2 cakes of this color and then these 2. So there's 4 hanks of mohair, silk mohair, which is super soft, it's super pretty. It's just a bit difficult, the fact that it was only 1 hank per sort. It's just a bit difficult to find a project to use it in, because I also don't think it would be enough for a sweater, so like to make a gradient. But so I thought, I also had in my stash at the same time some Drops Fabel, which is Drops sock yarn. So this is 75% wool and 25% wool. It's a very, very basic sock yarn. And I thought, well, it could be an idea to make a Oslo Hat mohair edition with this mohair and this sock yarn. But I didn't know which mohair would have fitted the sock yarn better. So I actually swatched it with all 3 of them. To be honest, I liked every single one of them. I like the one that's more blue. I love the combination with the aqua, and I love the combination with it's more of like a white blue speckled. Then I like a light blue, but I really like it too. Maybe my favorite is still the more blue one. It would be really nice. I just don't know if I want to like knit it as a gift for somebody, or if I want to just knit it for myself. I also at the same time, I never knitted Oslo Hat, what pretty much the rest of the world has. But also it is a nice idea for a present. Just in this case, I know a lot of people are knitting hats for Christmas presents. Just really be aware again of the person you're gifting the hat to. Like, is this person a person that wears hats all the time during winter? Or is it a person that hates hats and so like they wouldn't even appreciate your present? Is it a person that again would know how to care for a hand knitted hat? Or is a person that maybe is just gonna, like my mom would, either put it by mistake in the washing machine and felt it, like she did with several of my hats? Or a person that would just like leave it aside and never wash it, never really make a good use out of it. I do need a hat because again, my mom has felted a couple of, to be honest, of store-bought hats that weren't even expensive hats that you would say, oh, of course they're 100% wool because they're super expensive. No, one was like from Fat Face, which is a British brand, and it was maybe like 15 pounds. So it wasn't the cheapest type of hat that I owned, but at the same time it wasn't like the most expensive hat out there. And I really loved that one, and she managed to felt it. And then another one was a present that she managed to felt it. So I do need a hat because my mom felted most of them. To be honest, I love wearing hats during winter. I think it's a scientific fact, but you can correct me if I'm wrong. It may be something that I'm remembering wrong, but I believe that like 30% of the body heat actually escapes from the head. So when you're cold in the winter, covering your head is actually one of the best things to do to stay warm, to keep warm, because you trap the heat inside your body that otherwise it would just escape from your head. It is it's also important to cover your extremities, so your hands and your feet. So go all out with gloves and with socks and with heavy socks. But yeah, before knitting hats for your whole family, just be sure that those people like wearing hats. A very common type of hat to knit is usually like the Oslo Hat is hipster hats, I'll call them, and which are like what's trending the last couple of years. And they're also really easy to knit. Just again, make sure that those people actually like their style of hat. Make sure that person actually knows how to care for a hand knitted item and would appreciate having to care for a hand knitted item. I think I covered all my Christmas presents. Yay! Good thing they're not even that much, because otherwise we would have been here way longer together. But as you can see, I haven't made much progress yet on my Christmas knitting. I should make more progress. I should really like power through a bit more, because also I may have like cast on a sweater in the last couple since I saw you last for myself. And I may have gotten like really all out about it and disregarded my knitting for Christmas a bit. So the sweater I'm knitting is actually one I had told you about. You already knew I wanted to knit the sweater. Why did you let me knit it? It's the Aosta Sweater by the Knitper girl. She just released like some days ago the new version of it, because this pattern was her second ever pattern that she ever designed. And she pretty much wrote it at the same time as she was writing her first pattern. So after a couple of years and so many people around the world that knitted this pattern, it needed a bit of an update. And she gave an amazing update, but I'm knitting the old version. I'm knitting the old version because, as I told you in last episode, I love this. As I told you in last episode, actually, I had started this already last year. I had knitted the collar, like only the white part. I hadn't folded it yet, and I hadn't knitted any part with the pink yet. So I could have like waited a bit for the new version to come out and just go all out with the new version. But I just wanted to finish the project that I had in my mind and then start the new version. So I'm just going with the old version for now, and then I'll just have to pick out another color and knit the new one with also different yarn. This one, I love it. I don't know if you can see it, but this one is actually heavily inspired by the version that Lizzie, aka Hive Knits, knitted, because she made this beautiful version of the Aosta Sweater last year with neon yellow collar and cuffs and hem, and well, the rest of the sweater was like a cream color. And I really loved the contrast of the collar and hem and cuffs from the rest of the sweater. And at the same time, I was knitting my rice jumper by We Are Knitters, and I really liked the spotted pink color I had picked up for one of the bands in my jumper, and I really liked that yarn. And so like one of the first times right after that they had a sale, I bought a sweater quantity of that pink yarn, which is this one, and it's a bit of like a speckled pink. It's called spotted pink of the Petite Wool. It's way softer and also nicer in color than like every other color of the Petite Wool. I don't know why it's so different. It's really much softer. Like at times it almost feel as I was knitting with an unspun yarn. I don't know why it's so different, but instead the color is knitted with Hobbii Snowstorm, which I already showed you for the Kabana Bag, but this one is in the natural ecru cream color. I don't remember exactly. Of course, this We Are Knitters yarn was bought way before their debacle with Zara. I haven't bought anything from We Are Knitter since then. I kind of like boycotted them, but like not really purposefully. Simply, I'm not. At attracted by them anymore. I kind of felt a bit betrayed as a consumer. Their whole sustainability castle kind of crumbled after that collaboration. I just couldn't look at them in the same way anymore after that. And that's why I haven't bought anything from them since. I'm still using their yarn that I had in my stash, which it was this. I still have 2 other sweater quantities of their yarn in my stash, and of course I'm gonna use it because I spend money on it. It would be absolutely not sustainable to leave it there or throw it away. I could sell it, but like, why? I mean, it's still perfectly good yarn that I can use for myself, that I bought because I liked it. I think maybe in the future, the only things that I would really like to get from them right now are the kits for the heritage sweater and the heritage scarf, and I think they're called, by Knits from Oslo. The collaboration she did with them, it's just because I really like those designs. If Knits from Oslo decided to release those designs by themselves, I would definitely buy those and knit them with a yarn that's different from the We Are Knitters yarn, which I think it's extremely overpriced for the quality it offers, besides all the sustainability debacle. That's why I always just bought it when it was really discounted, like when they do like 30% off the whole website, or Black Friday, which I think it goes even to 40. But otherwise I stay away from them, and so far it's been at least 6 months that I'm really far away from them. But I'm using this yarn now because it was the yarn I had bought specifically for this sweater. I had planned to knit this sweater with this yarn, and I really like how it's turning out. So far I've completed the yoke, and actually now you see it all nicely stretched out, let's say, because I put it on, I think it's like on 100 centimeters cable, and then I attached to it 40 centimeter in the cable. So I think right now it's like on 140 centimeter cable. I really wanted to try it on because it was all a bit scrunched up, because I usually just like my work to be super scrunched up on a 80 centimeters cable, instead of like maybe having to stretch my stitches a bit because the cable is too long. So it was all scrunched up, but at the same time it really felt a bit big, and I was surprised of it. So I put it literally on 2 cables just to try it on. And actually, do you want to see it on? It's really cute. I'm gonna just put it on. Okay, so this is my Aosta sweater on, and it's just perfect. Now I'm literally wearing it on top of my Ola cardigan, which by the way I was wearing before. It's this beautiful cardigan I have test knitted for Beth and Rose, who's designer based in the UK, and she does these amazing romantic designs. And this one is really pretty because you have like a whole cable design going all the way from the shoulders to the cuff down the sleeve. It's really pretty and I really liked it, and it's really warm, and I knitted it with, I believe, Drops Flora and a strand of mohair. So right now I'm still wearing it underneath my Aosta sweater. That's why it may look a bit small, but it definitely isn't. It's nice. It's a perfect little oversize that I really like. It has enough ease for me to put a t-shirt underneath and still be not too tight around my chest. And I just have to divide for the sleeves now, and yeah, I'm loving it. I love this white color. It just gives me those vibes of like winter. I just see myself drinking hot chocolate under the snow wearing this sweater, which at the same time, when it's gonna happen that I drink hot chocolate under the snow? But it's just so pretty. I love this white color. I'm so happy of how it's turning out. But you can see by how excited I am about this sweater that it was really easy to just knit this instead of focusing on Christmas presents. But maybe this one will be ready for Christmas. I really think it will, actually. And I can wear it for Christmas. So it will be my Christmas present for myself. Also, in case you're curious about this wooden thingy showing up with a row counter on top, if you want to know a fun trick for your yarn, instead of like spending a bunch of money on those spinning yarn or cake or skein holders There are usually like around 20 euros or more. I use a kitchen towel holder, which works amazingly. It does its job. It works great. And also on the top, I just put my row counter. So it's a great way also to never lose my row counter and to not like accidentally sit on it and mess up the count of my rows, because I've done it before. And you may say like, shouldn't it just go on your finger? Yes, it should. Just sometimes I find it a teeny bit uncomfortable. So I always like kind of lay it flat somewhere, like on my desk or around me. If it's on my desk, usually I lose it or just I confuse it with another one, because I have multiple row counters. Usually each project of mine has its own row counter. This way it's perfect. And this, I had one at home that was made out of plastic, and I thought, oh, that would be great. I tried it on, but it was a bit too light. So whenever I pulled on the yarn, it would kind of like come after the yarn. So that didn't work. But I found this one for only like €2.50 or something like that at Action, which if you're in the Netherlands, you're lucky. If you're not in the Netherlands, the closest thing I can think of Action, it's in the UK, it's Poundland. But with the difference that Action is not properly like everything for £1, for €1, but it's still like every possible sort of stuff very cheap. And this was like $2.50 and it's made of bamboo. It has a good weight to it. So if I pull on the yarn, it wouldn't come together with the yarn. It does its job. And it works perfectly for the yarn that is in this like horizontal skeins. I don't know how to, you know what I'm talking about. Like the yarn that has a hole in the middle instead of like this kind of yarn that it doesn't really, like it does vertically, but it's a bit too tight for it to fit on this. So it works great with this type of skeins, but it also works great with cakes. Just that with cakes, it tends to work great if you put the cake straight into it right after you have wound it up. Because if you wait, then it's a bit more difficult to get enough space in the center of a cake. But it's just a great cheap trick. Instead of buying those dedicated spinners that are like more than 20 euros, I don't know why they're so expensive, you can get a kitchen towel holder, like €2.50, or just find it in your mom's cabinet, which it is where the plastic one was. It just didn't work. So yeah, I think I'm done with this episode. I'm very in like Christmas moods now. But we don't own any Christmas decoration because our apartment was so small that we really didn't have room to put out Christmas decoration. We would usually only put a nice decoration on the front door, and then outside of our window there would be like the public Christmas lights. And that was nice. Now we have a bit of public Christmas lights outside of our window, but they're not really that pretty. But now we would actually have room for one big tree this year. But probably this year we're just gonna go without a Christmas tree. We still have too much of a mess around. I think for next Christmas, we're gonna get a Christmas tree and I'm gonna knit Christmas decorations. That's the plan. But I'm already planning for Christmas 2023 while I'm still so far behind on the plans for Christmas 2022. So this is a story for next year. And for now, thank you so much for coming here and saying hi and listening to me ramble again about everything. And thank you so much for your warmth and your amazing comments and really just watching my video so many times. I can't believe it. It was just great. So thank you, and have a great day, morning, evening, weekend, whenever you're watching this. Bye. See you next time.